KPCA, LP, Petaluma, California.
Whoa.
Hey.
What's that noise?
Oh.
Whoa.
Wait a minute, Jim. Where are we?
Ho.
Oh, yeah, I think we opened the wrong door. This looks like Santa's workshop.
Welcome, lads. Have you been good boys?
Oh, well, can I get my lawyer?
Hey, Matt, we haven't been good boys. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I think we opened the wrong door.
I think we did
We're trying to go to the studios, Jim.
Let's get out of here.
Go. Thank God.
That was close.
Really.
Phew. So that was Santa's workshop. Well, I hope that we made a good impression, Matt. I don't know, but I hope we did.
Oh, well, that's more like
That's
it. But,
more like it.
Folks, sometimes you just don't know what you're going to find here at the KPCA studios.
It's a surprise every week.
Yeah, but, Santa and his elves were hard at work there in the workshop. Yeah. It was nice to see the industrious efforts that they're putting out to make little boys and girls throughout the world happy.
Maybe I'll get my little train set that I've always wanted.
Oh, man.
Wanted for 60-some years.
Yeah, invite me over when you do.
Okay, we'll do that, Matt.
All right.
So, Matt, it's been a wild week.
Yeah, well, Jim, so it's the
24 hours.
It's the winter solstice today, right?
What does that mean?
That means tonight is the longest, darkest night of the year.
I think
in a long, dark year.
Spiritual people say it's the darkest night of the soul, and man, Matt, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's been, folks, it's been another crazy week. By the way,
24 hours.
This is Two Mooks and a Mic.
Oh, yes.
With your co-host, Jim Thomas, over there.
And that's Matt McGuire over there.
Greetings,
Thank you.
folks.
Thanks for reminding us of that. So let's get off.
Well, get on with
what's going on
with the news and analysis.
Like to get off on that, but
the doom and the gloom.
Yeah,
well,
doom and the gloom.
What's going on, Jim, is that the erstwhile leader, the wannabe fascist Nazi leader Donald Trump, is threatening to shut down the government. When he met with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer,
the Donnie, Nancy, and Chuck show,
he insisted on the $5 billion to build that wall on the Mexican border, which is a complete boondoggle. And and then the Republicans got him to walk it back, but now, and latest as of today, is he's still threatening gone back. He got criticized by Fox and Friends and Breitbart and people like that.
That's right.
Oh, a gutless president in a wall-less country.
He's not a man.
So of course he had to stand up on his hind legs.
Mr. Bone Spurs.
Really, exactly. Yeah. So but that's going to be a total debacle for the Republicans.
Yeah.
Not to mention the 800,000 federal employees that are either going to go home without a paycheck, not have work, or be forced to work without a paycheck.
Correct. And one of the Republican senators said, well, you signed up to be a civil servant. This is what you should expect. Work without pay. Yeah. And meanwhile, everything is in chaos. And the stock market is going diving.
Taking a big dump.
Sure. It's because the Feds raised their interest rate, even though Trump says they shouldn't do that. Yeah. But they did it anyway. Because
modestly.
A little, like 0.25%.
Yeah.
But combine that with everything else, it's like the avalanche is just adding more snow to it.
With the stock market, the professional investors are notoriously easily spooked.
Yeah, skittish.
Skittish. And in this case, if the government shuts down, while Trump is planning a 2-week vacation in Florida, the Secret
Service won't be paid, by the way.
Well, then maybe they won't be protecting him, right?
Ooh,
but that's an interesting thought.
But Merry Christmas to you.
If to us all, and if that can have a severe impact on the economy.
Absolutely.
And the trade war still goes on with China. So, these are a lot of reasons for the stock market to take a big dump.
The stock market does not like not knowing what's happening.
Exactly.
They don't like insecurity, and Trump thrives on it. It's like his reality TV show.
Yeah. And it's just in the past few weeks that it has lost all its record-making gains for the year.
10% in a year.
10% up and down. And this is the worst year for the stock market since 2008.
And usually December is a kind giving stock market where it usually rises. Historically, it has risen. It did rise for a little bit, maybe a day or two, and then plunged right back down, thanks to the ridiculous person in the White House.
And meanwhile, in Congress, Mitch McConnell, the turtle, that rat
the turtle.
Yeah, the ratty turtle is trying to come up with a continuing resolution just to fund the government through into January.
Right.
But, because Trump is who he is, he insisted on trying to jam an extra $1 billion in there for the wall. And the Democrats are going, no way
sure.
in hell.
And
it's
also,
not gonna happen.
Also, it did pass the resolution to give $5 billion to Trump for his wall, passed the House of Representatives. And that's, of course, going to change in January where the Democrats come in. The Senate now has to pass it, but many of the senators, Republicans, their incumbents, they're left. They've left already. They're not going to be doing that.
And in the Senate, it requires 60 votes.
You're right. That's right.
And so they're never going to get that 60 votes.
Trump is encouraging McConnell to get rid of the nuclear option, which means that they don't have to have a majority to do that, or a simple majority, all they need, instead of having 2/3.
Yeah.
And McConnell says that's never going to happen. So he says now.
Well, I mean, they've already done that with the judicial appointments and, other things like that.
Right,
but they know that when the shoe's on the other foot.
When the Democrats eventually get control of the
Senate.
And
they've infuriated so many people in the country and so many power centers, whether it's, liberal voters or, the Intelligence Committee.
Right, everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So, this is going to be, we'll see. I mean, will he sign a continuing resolution or is it going to shut down? I'm betting he's going to let it shut down.
Wow.
Because he's just, where has Trump ever cared about anybody other than himself?
But himself, that's right.
Yeah. He doesn't care if people's Christmases are ruined.
No, because he's going to be in Mar-a-Lago enjoying his Christmas, supposedly. Yeah. But apparently there's a woman who is a regular at Mar-a-Lago, and she says it's really awful now. The food is crappy. It's the same thing with the menu. Nothing's changed. You order the special Trump salad. It's a wedge of iceberg lettuce with nothing but gelatinous dressing on it. That's it.
Well, and when he became president, he doubled the
membership fee
from $100,000 to $200,000.
Of course he did.
Yeah,
of course he did.
Well, and then in the meantime, on the other foreign policy front, so Trump suddenly announces that he's going to pull our troops out of Syria.
Oh, boy.
There's only a couple of thousand of them, but against the advice of the Pentagon, and of course this triggered Jim Mattis, Secretary of Defense, saying, you know what, I'm out of here.
And
you're crazy and stupid, and you won't listen to any of us who've been at this for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
We're out of here.
So the results of that, the pundits are saying, is Iran is licking its chops because now it can go in. Russia is very happy and actually said, thank you so much. It's a good idea that the U.S. leaves because now they can go in. Yeah. The only people that are going to be able to be a stalwart against those people is Israel.
And, folks, this is not to confuse you, to make you think that either Jim or I are strong supporters of our militaristic foreign policy.
Correct.
We are not.
No.
But at the same time,
we don't want to blow up.
It's you have to recognize that you can't make these major moves in these
overnight,
high pressure situations without massive coordination and cooperation.
Correct. Another thing that the pundits are saying is, okay, ISIS is on its heels. If we stayed in, we could make sure that we do keep them on their heels, if not more. But they're saying as long as the U.S. pulls out, ISIS is going to grow again.
Well, exactly. And and of course, who has been the basic strongest bulwark against ISIS on the border between Syria and Iraq? It's been the Kurds. And the Kurds have been valiant, warriors, yes. Yeah. And the U.S. has backed them. They are our allies, as is Turkey, our ally. But Turkey has labeled the Kurds as terrorists, so they're hell bent on destroying them.
And that's
if America steps back out of Syria, then Turkey's going to go after the Kurds.
I forgot Turkey.
And wipe them out.
It's Iran, Turkey, and Russia who are very happy that the U.S. has pulled out.
And if we do that, and Turkey goes after the Kurds, the Kurds will fight to the death. I mean, they'll probably be slaughtered. They have lived in hostile conditions for decades and decades, and they are not going to give up.
No.
But that just shows the rest of the world, our allies, that with this administration, we'll screw you in a minute.
Absolutely.
If there's a momentary political bump for Donald Trump.
Yeah. So Mattis is gone, and
Mattis just goes, that's unsustainable. You can't do that. No. That's stupid and crazy.
When Mattis was there, the only adult in the room, he actually was able to intercept the nuclear codes. If Trump decided to fire any nuclear missiles, it would have to go through Mattis. He made sure of that, even though it wasn't legally he wasn't supposed to be able to do that. Now that's gone. The only advisor that he has left is Javanka.
Yeah,
Jared and Ivanka and Stephen Miller.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well,
and his crazy cabinet.
Yeah, like John Bolton.
Yeah, Mr. Mustache.
Yeah, Mr. Warhawk. Well, and
it's frightening, man.
And then but it's just gotten really loony because Trump decides, loony is. So Trump decides to film a propaganda film of him in front of the White House saying that ISIS is beat. And, he didn't tell
Mission
anybody.
Accomplished.
He just does this.
Yeah.
In the Pentagon, is their jaws are hitting the floor. They're going, what are you talking about?
This is the withdrawal of the troops.
You're going to start this whole new massive, surge of ISIS.
It's going to be nuts.
Confusion and stuff. And, so that's just.
Well, I'm just worried, too, that since the walls are closing in, Trump is doing more and more reality TV, incredible things to keep the viewers watching. What's going to happen, Matt, when he has the nuclear codes? No one's going to stop him if he gets really pissed off at somebody.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
that's
it's the same
really
thing. Or if there's an effort to, depose him and get him out of office, how's he going to react? Is he going to suddenly find a national emergency that gives him all those fascist authority?
Which he can do. He can declare a national state of emergency. I mean, that's the way it can go. Well, you know what? The Republicans are responsible for this too. They're responsible for putting him in power. Now they've got their wish, and you got to be careful what you wish for. And they got it.
And not just putting him in power, but
keeping him,
enabling him in all his worst
and giving him more power.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of things, we didn't talk about this in the preview, but one of the things that's being floated, probably from Stephen Miller, is the Vietnam refugees that came here 20, 30 years ago after the Vietnam War. They're talking about deporting them.
Those who have criminal records.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a little bit different than when I first heard it.
But the fact is those people who have criminal records have actually done their time.
How about that?
And now, so it's like double jeopardy.
So they have a record. It's not,
because they're
not wanted currently.
They're foreigners. Criminal foreigners.
They're people of color.
Yeah. Which, as a little side note, Tucker Carlson, that rabid right winger on Fox News, or the Fox channel, he's actually losing advertisers because he has just been spewing anti-immigrant hate talk.
He says that they basically are dirty. And
let him in.
America.
They'll make our country dirtier and poorer. Then he has his cameramen go and film litter up against the chain link fence on the border. And it's
this is what they leave.
Exactly right. So, but the advertisers know because people are calling them up and going, "Hey, this guy's a creep."
Right? Why are you advertising on this?
Like IHOP, International House of Pancakes. They go,
I would love to.
We welcome everybody at our restaurant, so we're not going to advertise there anymore.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah. Well, and
let's take a breath. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But speaking of such things, so one of the things that was interesting to see is that Michael Flynn, when he went to go up above, to the judge to talk about his sentencing,
right?
The federal judge Emmett Sullivan holds his feet to the fire. African-American judge, right on.
That's right.
And this judge says he made him admit in court that he lied to the FBI, that he knew it was a crime, and that he had to admit his guilt.
Yeah.
And so the judge said, "Hey, I'm not going to sentence you now because I'm thinking I might send you to jail," even though the Mueller prosecutors recommended that he not get jail time because he has been cooperating with him.
Right.
But now this is great because the judge is actually going to give him more opportunity to cooperate with the Mueller investigation.
And that's exactly the strategy people are saying this is what he's doing. So he's coming back in March, I think, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So then that'll be the sentencing time, and he's probably going to get jail time. But maybe it will be less if he keeps talking. Who knows?
And frankly, I think the guy deserves it. But here's the thing: the guy was head of the National Intelligence Commission.
Yes,
and,
that's right.
He's been a general. He's been in the military. He knew full well what talking to the FBI was about. And his attorneys and the right-wing press who were saying, the prosecutors, it was a perjury trap. Great little
and
phrase.
Giuliani's saying, no, it's not a crime.
Yeah,
truth is not truth.
But the perjury trap my ass. But the judge basically, went through, there's some great quotes from the judge, but bottom line, he says, arguably, you sold your country out.
So Matt, selling your country out, that's treason.
Yeah, it is. The guy met with the Russian ambassador, while he was in the Trump campaign and administration and lied about it. And it's like, how stupid is that? How amateur is that?
Right.
So the guy's getting his comeuppance. But here's the other interesting thing about that Judge Sullivan, Jim.
Yeah, okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, so Judge Sullivan, Emmett Sullivan, also just recently ruled that Jeff Sessions, when he was the Attorney General, Sessions, had a policy that banned asylum seekers, that said asylum seekers seeking asylum because they're victims of domestic violence or gang violence are no longer going to be allowed asylum.
I remember that. That was crazy. I mean, this is one of the reasons we should open up our borders to people who may be killed or beaten if they stay in the situation where they're in.
Especially if they're fleeing countries where we destroyed their government and created the conditions for corruption and violence.
Yeah, it all comes back to us.
So Judge Sullivan said, you know what? That rule is illegal. It is not up to the executive division of the government to interpret the intent of Congress. The intent was clear that Congress was going to allow that.
I like this, Judge.
So not only did he do that, he ordered the government to bring back immigrants who were deported under Sessions' ban on that asylum-seeking
So did he invite them back, or did he say go out and find them?
He's saying go find them and bring them back so they can get a fair hearing.
That's perfect.
Isn't that great?
Yes, really nice. Boy, that sounds like something America would do.
Yeah, and I mean, now the Trump administration is likely to appeal, but this stops the policy for now. And essentially, when people who apply for asylum, 80% right off the bat get certified as their appeal being sincere, and so then they get to go through the process. But bottom line is only 10 to 20% actually ever get asylum. So it's hard to get asylum, right?
Yeah. Well,
now,
it's always been hard to get asylum.
It has always been hard, and under Trump it's way harder.
Right, they're just not flowing in like Trump would lead you to believe.
Exactly. Now, but the whole process is getting backed up. There's like over 300,000 cases that have yet to be heard.
How will they ever hear all these cases? How many years is that going to be?
You remember that what Trump tried to do, and Sessions and these guys tried to do, was say, they were putting heat on the immigration judges to churn them out, crank them through, make a ruling right off. And in fact, in other states other than California, border states, there have for a couple of years
Arizona,
been
Texas.
The process has been that they would do these mass hearings. So under Trump, it's not illegal to come to this country and apply for asylum, no matter how you get here.
Okay.
But under Trump, he said, okay, anybody that sneaks into the country, we're going to treat that as a crime.
They have to come through actual stations.
Yeah, but anybody that
cross the
that
Rio
gets
Grande.
in, that sneaks in, we're going to charge them with a crime, and we're going to get the judges to have these mass hearings immediately, and then if the immigrants plead guilty, the judge will sentence them to time served, usually the night they spend in jail.
Not bad.
And then they're immediately deported.
Not good.
Well, guess what?
What?
In California, we do it different.
Yeah, as usual. Let's hear what California does.
Well, so what California judges are doing is they're jamming up the system because they're saying, no, you can't do that. So, what happens is ICE and the Border Patrol and Homeland Security have gotten so into this instant deportation, they arrest them, they charge them, they deport them. A lot of times when their cases come up in the court, they've already been deported. So judges in California are saying, you know what? They're not here to plead their case. We're dropping the charges.
Good.
And any bond money that they paid has to be returned.
Excellent.
Right? And so this is California's way of saying, we're not going along with this humanitarian abuse, right?
Yeah, right. Good
and
for
so
them.
that's having a big impact. So what the judges are doing is they're saying, okay, here's this person's name. If they're not here, we drop the case.
Yeah.
If they're here, we're not going to do these mass hearings.
Excellent.
We're going to say we're going to set a court date 5 days hence, and then we'll actually have a court hearing, and we're going to do it individually. It may be short and truncated, and because there is huge pressure.
Sure.
But we're not just going to go along with Homeland Security's, little shell game.
Geez, that's humane, Matt. It's funny that this is the exception. Not funny, but odd and infuriating that this is the exception rather than the rule. This is the way it should be for everybody, for goodness sake.
Exactly, right? So now what that does, though, in practical terms, is that it's forcing Homeland Security to put people up longer, and of course conditions are crowded, and of course it drives up the cost.
Yes.
But this is a way.
It's the consequence, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's right. And but this is a way to force Homeland Security and the Trump administration to come up with a better solution because, well, as you mentioned before the program, there's 14 or maybe now 15,000 kids.
Yeah, I've heard 15,000 kids
hosted in tents on the Texas
border. In the concentration camp. Yes, that's right. 15,000 kids, and finally, probably due to public outcry, the guards of these children are required now to be fingerprinted and have background checks. Before they didn't, so there was rape, there was beatings of these children, and they were going unpunished, and they were just hiring anybody who could basically wear a uniform. So it's nice that they're at least changing that to have it be perhaps a little bit more responsible, but I wouldn't really count on it. Plus, Matt, the people who are housing these children, it's an independent contractor, and apparently their contract is up for renewal, and they're thinking, I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, a lot of people are encouraging them not to,
which means what? What will happen?
Well, what that means is that tent city down there, that massively
concentration camp, I call it.
Exactly, is going to have to be disbanded. Well, and here's another one of the nasty little techniques of the Trump administration.
Stephen Miller.
Yeah, Stephen Miller and Donald
all
Trump.
over it.
So what they do is, so here's these kids. Now, before the Trump administration, kids like that and would be released to a guardian or a relative, somebody that already lives in the city until their particular case can be adjudicated.
Maybe like a foster parent or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Protect them.
Yeah.
Give them a home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that would mean the government didn't have to pay to house them or feed them, et cetera.
That makes sense.
They could get into schools, et cetera.
Yeah,
well,
good.
So what ICE has been doing is they suddenly said, oh, well, for the safety of the children, everybody that lives in a household where that kid might be released has to have a background check and be fingerprinted.
Oh, my gosh,
and
it's
so
not going to work.
What they did was a lot of those homes have people who are undocumented immigrants. And so ICE took some of that information, and when they started this program, and they would go and raid those people and deport them.
Wow.
So what do you think the result of that is?
No one's going to step forward.
No one.
Why would you?
Exactly. It's like,
Jeez,
I mean,
man. This is like one step below what the Nazis would do.
Yeah, it's just mean and vicious, right?
It is mean and vicious.
But now the courts are pushing back, and so they've had to ratchet that back, and they go, okay, we won't do fingerprinting and background check on everybody in the house, just the parents or the people receiving the kid or something.
Unbelievable.
But even then, it's still 90% vicious, right?
That's right. Of course it is. So, and I keep thinking that ICE is nothing but a rogue police organization.
It is. That's right. Right.
And we talked about this before, and I'll say it again. Under Obama tried to rein them back, and they basically ignored him.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nothing happened with that, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, while we're on the grim subject,
let's keep it grim.
It's been 4 months since the courts told the Trump administration to reunite all those immigrant kids that were ripped from their parents and families under his, zero tolerance,
edict.
Policy, right? There's still 140. They're still separated. And here's the heartbreaker.
Yeah.
They think that there's 30 kids that they'll never be able to reunite with their parents or their families.
Holy cow. So what's going to happen with these kids?
I don't know. But
will they be sent back to whatever country they're originally from?
I don't know. Or maybe they end up in this country. But
nobody knows, Matt. We're in uncharted territory.
Every expert on, child development, psychologist, et cetera, is saying this is doing permanent long-term damage to these kids.
Absolutely.
It's just completely undeniable, the damage that's done.
Sure.
I mean,
do they care? No.
Kids that need to be nurtured are living in places where there's 100, 1,000, tens of thousands
behind chain link fences.
Yeah.
No physical contact.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. Not even their food that they're used to.
Yeah.
No.
It's just hideous.
Do they
and horrible.
read to them at night? No.
Yeah. No.
Do they hold them? No.
No. Exactly. So this is just heartbreaking, and it's got to come to a climax at some point, and hopefully when the Democrats are in the House, through investigations or
they'll
legislation,
do as much as they possibly can. And this is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's got to change. It's got to change.
We're going to change gears just a little bit, Matt.
Yeah.
Did you know that 6 armed men in Belgium agreed to postpone a robbery on the advice of a shopkeeper who had police waiting for them when they returned? This is what happened. When the robbers first held up the store, the merchant, identified only as DDA, told them to come back at closing time when he'd have more money. The robbers agreed, but returned early. DDA berated them, saying, "You have to buy a watch. It's 5:30, not 6:30. The third time they came, police were waiting. It was like a comedy. DDA said. How about that? That's the way to rob with with grace.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
one's hurt.
Well, and there has been good news this week.
Chocolate either.
Stinky Ryan Zinke has resigned as Secretary of the Interior.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yeah, well, no, thank you for the people that pressured and signed petitions.
Jesus,
and,
I'm sure made him do it.
And the Inspector General, who is not Jesus, who has got 17 investigations against
17.
This guy.
Wow. Okay, but now my question is: now that he's resigned, will these 17 investigations continue on? Let's hope so.
One of those investigations, the information was handed over to the Department of Justice for potential prosecution.
Good.
And I think it's the land deal that he's doing with the head of Halliburton and his wife's nonprofit. Halliburton wants to put in like a brewery, restaurant, spa, whatever.
Right.
And his wife is going to give him access to part of their land for a parking lot, which of course would increase the Zinke family's property holdings adjacent, et cetera, et cetera.
Sweet deal.
And so
yet another corrupt person in the Trump administration.
Another swamp dweller, right?
Swamp dwellers, right?
Yeah. So it's good to see him out. But here's the thing, Jim. There's always what's the opposite of a silver lining?
a dark cloud.
Yeah. Here's a lead lining, because basically what's going to happen, the job is going to go to his assistant, David Bernhardt, who's a former oil lobbyist.
There we go. They're everywhere. Yeah. So, Matt, who do we blame for America's woes? Politicians in Washington, naturally. 77% are dissatisfied with the state of American politics. That's from the Associated Press. And 75% have little or no confidence in our elected officials. We don't trust voters either. 56% aren't confident in the political wisdom of the American people. That's from Pew Research.
You'd have to count me in there.
Many think President Trump is dragging the nation down. 69% say he's damaged the dignity of the presidency. I'm surprised it's so low. 56% says that he's done more to divide than unite America, and 36% that his words and actions have helped fuel political violence. Some are simply puzzled by the commander-in-chief's hair. 37% thinks it's all natural. 30% a toupee, and 30% aren't sure.
That 30% and 37% that think it's natural, there's his base.
Yeah,
it doesn't,
it doesn't move. Yeah, just like his hair doesn't move.
You could just be, the guy could walk out of the slaughterhouse with blood up to his elbows and,
shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah,
as he himself
exactly.
said.
They would still stick by him.
That's right.
Boy, some Americans are just
they're
worse than deplorable.
They're terrible. Yeah, thank you, Hillary, for that. Yeah.
They're just awful. And here's another boondoggle. A Texas judge, a George W. Bush appointee,
here we go.
ruled the Affordable Care Act completely unconstitutional.
Nuts.
As you know, Congress eliminated the penalties for not signing up for it.
You had to pay into it, whether you signed up or not. You would be penalized if you didn't sign up for it. You had to sign up. You had to pay.
Yeah, that was to force people to all join, and that's correct. That's how you fund the thing, right?
That's
well, so this judge is now saying because there's no penalty, it's unconstitutional.
And you can't just throw out that part. He said you have to throw out the whole entire thing.
But judges on the right and the left are laughing. They're saying the guy's a complete idiot.
He is an idiot. The Supreme Court even ruled on this, Matt. They said that part alone, if it's taken out, then that's it. That's the only part. It's because it's a tax, right? Yeah. And so they can get rid of that and keep the rest of the Affordable Care Act.
And having eliminated the penalty does not eliminate Congress's ability to tax. Therefore, it is still constitutional.
That's correct.
That's the thinking.
That's correct.
But Reed O'Connor is known as a Republican partisan,
activist judge,
known for weaponizing his judicial power.
Weaponizing, that's right.
Of course, if it goes, so this will get appealed. I mean, it doesn't kick in until after 2019.
So the Affordable Care Act is still happening in California. The sign up is in January. I don't know the date.
It's extended.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, but
if you haven't signed up, do so.
But it's so if it does get upheld, because it could go to the Supreme Court. Now you've got Judge Kavanaugh on there, who's totally partisan judge.
Yes,
so who knows what that crapshoot would come out like? Yeah. But if that's the case, it eliminates all protections for pre-existing conditions.
Right.
It eliminates the expansion of Medicaid.
Right.
It eliminates the lifetime limit on you having how much you spend.
A cap. So those are three issues that the Democrats ran on in red states, and that's one of the reasons why there's a blue tsunami.
Yeah.
Especially pre-existing conditions.
But other judicial people and pundits are just saying this is a raw political activism, and that they think that it will likely be overturned.
Well, it's got to. Yes, if it's gone to the Supreme Court and Roberts has already turned this provision of the Affordable Care Act, chances are good he will do it again.
Yeah.
And Kavanaugh is a surprise. He and Roberts backed Planned Parenthood. You know about that,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. They refused to hear an appeal.
To defund Planned Parenthood this week, frustrating conservatives who hoped newly appointed Kavanaugh would open the door to stricter abortion limits. He didn't. And Judge Thomas was a little miffed about that. So he sided with the liberals for this. Maybe it's like he wants to come across as being a good old boy.
Yeah, or
in a good way.
Or that he's willing to follow Roberts' lead. But of course Roberts' lead usually is wrong. But in this case it was right.
But Roberts, they're saying maybe he's actually being more circumspect and he doesn't want to have the Supreme Court divide the nation any further than it is.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
He's not going to take cases that are going to divide things.
We'll see.
But Planned Parenthood was one of them.
I mean, he's an ideologue, so I don't have much faith in that.
Oh, Matt, come on.
And here's
the
thing, Jim. Of course, the Republicans are
silver lining.
You've seen it. I mean, with the Scott Walker signing legislation to cut the power of the incoming Democratic governor and attorney general.
That's right.
You see the voter suppression. Republicans are overturning the will of the people, and they're undercutting democracy anytime their hold on power is threatened.
That's right. That's what they mainly want is power. Period.
And they've actually, done a good job, if you can call it that, of infiltrating institutions with right-wing partisans, and it's getting very advanced in the country, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you see that in Border Patrol and Homeland Security, but you also now see it with, when Pruitt and now Wheeler, head of EPA, Zinke in the Interior. These are all people that want to destroy the agencies that they've been appointed to run.
Betsy DeVos is another one of their Secretary of Education.
Exactly, right. Exactly.
Destroy public schools.
Yeah, and they want to privatize it and make it all a capitalistic venture. Yeah. And then of course they've been packing the courts with their loyalists.
That's right, and it's kind of like under the radar. And Mitch McConnell is one of the ones to lead this. They want to get as many conservative justices in as possible.
Yeah, there's an author, David Frum, who wrote the book Trumpocracy.
I like this guy. He writes for Vanity Fair, I think.
Does he? He says if the conservatives become convinced that they cannot win, democratically, they won't abandon conservatism. They'll reject democracy. And I thought, that's a very astute
I think that's very astute. And speaking of rejecting things, there's a principal of a Nebraska public elementary school. She banned all Christmas decorations, songs, and references, including candy canes, because she mistakenly thought that they were shaped like J's to honor Jesus. Jennifer Sinclair also told parents that a candy cane's red stripe represents the blood of Christ, while the white stands for the resurrection. She's since been placed on leave. I like candy canes, man. I like that hook. I hook it under my lip. I let her walk around like a fang.
When you get 3 or 4 of those hanging there, you look really impressive, Jim.
Thank you, with my Santa hat. People somehow cross the street. I thought it was because they didn't want me to know as Santa.
I think they feel better when your wife keeps your leash on.
Yes, the harness, and not the retractable one. It's the best way to walk.
Keep your eyes peeled for him, folks.
I stop at every tree.
You'll see Jim out there and
barking up the wrong tree
with his candy canes hanging off his lip.
With my Santa hat. That's right.
God. Hey, Jim, here's a piece of information that I thought was good news.
What's that, Matt?
I mean, good news out of a tragedy.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
So the Sonoma County has finally settled the Andy Lopez wrongful murder suit.
Let's for our international friends, Matt. Let's review what that is about.
So it was 5 years ago.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah, Andy Lopez,
a kid.
15-year-old kid 15. Or something, walking along with a fake, automatic rifle,
a toy gun.
The sheriff's deputy, Eric Gelhaus, and another sheriff pull up behind him, jump out with their guns, scream at him to drop the weapon. As Andy turns around, Gelhaus plugs him with 7 bullets and kills him.
Yeah, shoots him dead.
A huge outrage, clearly a violation of Andy's civil rights and clearly an excessive use of force.
Yeah.
So
they claim that Gelhaus claims that he was threatened by Andy with carrying this gun
as he was turning around. That the tip of the rifle was coming up. Well, was his hand on the trigger? No, I mean, was he going into firing position? No.
Right. So Gelhaus just overreacted and killed this kid. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the kid was a person of color, and Gelhaus is white.
Hispanic. And so the community rose up in outrage.
Absolutely.
And a couple good things came out of that. There was the formation of the Independent Office of Law Enforcement Review and Outreach.
That's about time.
EOLERO, what a terrible title.
Yeah.
And also the city of Santa Rosa have started having, having contracted for oversight of their police department.
That's good.
But the thing is that our DA, Jill Ravitch, did a terrible thing and found that there was no excessive use of force in this case. Yeah. She should have let that go to a jury trial.
Absolutely.
So a jury could
look at the evidence.
In this. Yeah,
right. Look at the evidence.
So the family is sued. Yeah. And the county, much to its shame, has spent these last 4 or 5 years and $1.3 million fighting it.
Wow.
The county fought it so hard that they tried to get the Supreme Court to hear...
Of California?
No, the U.S.
Supreme Court.
So what happened was in the lower courts, the courts ruled, no, there's clear evidence of excessive use of force
by the policeman, yes.
And by the sheriff, and that it could go to trial.
Yeah.
And
it should go to trial.
And should go to trial.
Yeah.
But they wanted the Supreme Court to rule that even in cases this extreme, that there was justifiable use. Right?
Yeah, that's okay. That's what they said.
Yeah. And so. In the lower court said that Lopez was not an immediate threat to Gal House,
right.
And that a jury should decide, the excess force issue.
I think the jury should have decided that.
The county was saying, no, a jury shouldn't. Excess force should be left up to the DA. Well, the DA, is in the pocket there of the police and sheriff, it looks like to me.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
And so now... since they couldn't get the Supreme Court to go with them...
Because the Supreme Court wouldn't hear that case?
They wouldn't hear the case.
Yeah.
Then they went into negotiations, and to their credit, they unanimously voted 5-0 to give the $3 million to Andy Lopez's family.
So all told, they spent $4.5 million.
About $4.5 million.
Or probably even more. But anyway, yes, they did the right thing finally. It was a unanimous vote, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yes. So the family, they lost their son, unfortunately, but they did get some compensation, and maybe that's the end of it.
Yeah.
By the way, I drove past where he was shot. There's a very nice park now.
Yeah, they built a park for the community.
Memorial
There's
park.
a memorial there.
Yes, and they spent some money, and it looks really great.
And the family's attorney says the important thing is that this sets a precedent that does say a jury has the authority that the DA is not the final arbiter of use of excessive force.
The DA should never have been the final arbiter of that.
And our county never should have argued that.
It's an embarrassment, isn't it?
It was wrong.
Yes, it was wrong.
Just wrong. Yeah. And now the supervisors have acknowledged that.
Good.
Unfortunately, Eric Gelhaus got promoted to a sergeant and oversees the nighttime.
So he's still working.
Sheriff's shift apparently, and is still working, and he should be in jail for murder.
Yeah, or definitely face a jury trial for that. Absolutely. Maybe it's not too late.
Here's something else I think is positive.
What's that? Yes. Okay, so
Donald Trump has to shut his charity.
Whoa, and we're putting charity in air quotes
quote,
there.
Unquote,
right,
charity.
That's right. Well, what does he have to get rid of? Matt, he has to get rid of his $10,000 self-portrait.
$20,000.
Oh, 20.
Yeah,
Ooh, man.
Which they don't know where it is now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've lost it. And in fact, on that portrait, it's like... and then on his IRS reporting, first it got reported as being worth like $973.
Oh my God!
And then like the next year it's reported worth $0.
And that's exactly what he did with his properties.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. And how much? What's the cash? Like $17,000 is still in that?
Oh, I think it's a little bit more than that. But what it is that he has to shut the charity, give away the remaining money. The New York District Attorney is coming after him and his 3 oldest children
NYDA.
for, quote, a shocking pattern of illegality, unquote.
Isn't that interesting?
On coordinating with his presidential campaign.
Yep.
There's one violation.
There we go. All right.
Repeated self-dealing. There's another one.
Wow.
Giving, he did things like at his rallies, he would give, donation checks that they make big giant ones.
Right, the giant check, yeah.
Yeah, so they would interrupt the rally to give, these charity checks
during
to
the rally,
veterans groups and stuff during the rally. But, nonprofits aren't allowed to be engaged in campaigns at all. So there you go. There's another violation,
wow.
Right?
So he's basically, Matt, treating it like a game show.
He was treating it like his private piggy bank.
And his private. No, I'm talking about displaying the big checks, the rallies, and things like that.
For the big.
You've won.
Yeah, exactly.
A big check.
Big flash. Don't we look good?
But wait a minute. Didn't Clinton have a charitable organization that was
but I don't think it was. It
and
was
come under a lot
scrutiny.
Of investigation. Yeah,
and there's a lot of question about who gave big money to it. Oil interests in Middle Eastern countries.
Yes, but it did really good stuff, as I recall.
Actually gave hundreds of millions of dollars to AIDS education
good
and
stuff.
treatment. Yeah.
All right.
Now, the Washington Post had documented many, many lapses and crimes on the Trump charity.
I don't know whether the listeners can hear me rubbing my hands together.
Yeah, and they pointed out that the charity paid legal settlements for Trump's private businesses and then bought art for his clubs, including that hideous portrait, and then made illegal political donations. So, I mean,
they do whatever. It's a mob. He's a mob boss. He's a stupid mob boss.
Yeah.
Because the Italian mob bosses are at least a little bit more clever.
A little bit more subtle sometimes.
Remember the mob boss, the Italian mob boss, he was under investigation, and they claimed he was too senile, and he'd walk around in his bathrobe all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Outside, he'd walk around in his. Well, I kind of do that too. But anyway, he would never take his bathrobe off, and they said, "Oh, he's gone crazy. He can't be."
Then he was like
indicted.
Not guilty for lack of
non-mentis compass.
Exactly.
Right, but it turned out he
was fine for years later. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Wow.
Yeah, so of course Trump says that this investigation is a partisan attack.
Of course, there's no there. Move on.
They gave $25,000 to the Florida Republican Attorney General and didn't report it to the IRS.
Oh my gosh! Are you surprised at this?
Guess what? Guess how many people work for this charity?
6.
None.
What?
0.
Wow. Well, there we go. So you just all you need to do is take a bright light, shine it on any of Trump's businesses, and you see. And by the way, the Democrats coming into the House of Representatives have subpoena power on Trump's tax returns.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
We're going to find out a lot of
you
stuff.
Remember his CFO for the Trump organization. Let's see, Alan Weisselberg. Is singing to Mueller, right?
Yeah.
Well, it turns out the charities,
she's like a canary.
The charity's CFO was listed. He was listed as the charity's treasurer.
Yeah.
He didn't know he was on the board.
That's the kind of board I want to be on.
God.
Don't even know it. Get paid. That's all right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Jeez.
Keep an eye on that one.
Keep an eye on that one. Keep an eye on this, too, boys and girls. A Virginia high school teacher has been fired for referring to a transsexual student by the wrong pronouns.
Oh, we reported on that.
We did do that? Oh, move on then. We'll move on to this is a bad week for goals because after White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders told an interviewer that she hopes to be remembered as someone who was, quote, transparent and honest, unquote, with reporters. Fantasy. Wow.
Huckabee
Slanders. And a robot at an Amazon fulfillment center this week accidentally punctured a can of bear repellent, unleashing a wave of eye and lung-searing concentrated capsaicin, which sent dozens of flesh and blood employees to the emergency room. It sounds like someone put a Pop-Tart in the microwave here at the studio. And there apparently was a cloud.
Nobody would do that.
Nobody would. Not in their right mind.
Yeah.
Okay, the person who did is not at her chair, or his chair, or its chair.
She rightfully doesn't listen to us.
That's probably good. She's out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see. So what's going on out there? What else is going on out there?
So the Democrats are facing, the question mark here is, are they facing chaos in 2020? Because the field is going to be tremendous predicting of who's going to be running for the presidency.
Yeah.
But one person, Ronald Klain of the Washington Post, says it's a plus to have all these people, not a minus, because the party has so many viable presidential candidates. The whole point of primaries is to air and thrash out philosophical differences and determine which candidate fares best under pressure.
Yeah.
In the battle to come, the man or woman who can triumph in that ordeal, not one who fits some sort of set of pre-selected qualities, should be the Democrats' champion.
Yeah.
Good positive spin
point.
on that. And they're talking about Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Let's hope some of the dinosaurs don't go in there. But so, there's the Senate Intelligence Committee had a very interesting report done by a couple of different outside organizations. One of them, Oxford University, in coordination with a network analysis company called Graphica, did one report, and another was done by a group, New Knowledge, which is part of Columbia University and Canfield Research, did this report on Facebook.
Oh no, not my beloved Facebook.
Well, not only actually, it was a report on the Russian interference in the 2016 election.
Okay,
it goes way beyond Facebook because the campaign used all social media tools to basically categorize Americans into key interest groups and target them with specific messages, videos, and pictures, right?
Okay.
And this, included the Internet Research Agency, which is known Russian trolls.
Yeah.
You've heard about them.
Okay, yes.
And, they used Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, Tumblr, Pinterest, and email accounts from Yahoo, Hotmail, and Gmail.
I bet all of our listeners are at least on one of those platforms.
Exactly. That covers like 96, 7, 8% of the populace, right?
98.5%.
And apparently the growth of abuse in postings was most effective on Instagram.
Oh, no, I use Instagram.
There you go.
Holy cow.
They got you, buddy.
I haven't been influenced by them.
Okay.
I just post my photographs.
You go, la, 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 la. So
I do. I close my eyes so I won't be influenced.
So, of course, the was specifically meant to help the Republicans in the election and hurt the Democrats.
Kind of did.
And then, once Trump was elected, they went on and increased their amount of postings, particularly on Instagram, to smear Robert Mueller.
Of course.
To protect Trump.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the Russians. They're super adept. They started out on some of the, the smaller, Twitter and then YouTube, and then went to Facebook.
Because they're finding that it works, so they keep getting deeper and deeper.
And they were very facile. They could jump from one platform
to
another.
Those Russian hackers.
Yeah, and people are saying, in these reports, they're saying, well, in part, it's really difficult to constrain these people.
Sure.
Of course, then you find out that Facebook says, "Oh, we've taken care of that," and then they're lying through their teeth.
They haven't.
They haven't. But this is a significant, much more detailed picture of how far and deep the Russians went to influence the election.
Went, Matt, and probably still are involved in all of these platforms.
Now, these reports did not cover the midterm elections, but they did things like, they would focus like, for African Americans, they had a lot of non-political posts and
just to
blogs and websites, and but then they would target them with messages that were intended to make them not trust the voting process or confused about when and where they vote.
Maybe voting too early or late. Or
when they were targeting conservatives, they would get them all excited over gun control, immigration, all that stuff.
All the hot button issues for them.
Very, very effective.
And very sophisticated.
Very sophisticated. And I am sure that's still going on.
I think so, too.
So
if it worked once, it's probably going to still work for a lot of people.
Social media is a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword. And speaking of that, a California woman has sued the state of California after it told her that the hairy, scary creature she saw in the woods was a bear, not Bigfoot. This is a woman named Claudia Ackley. She's 46. She was hiking with her two daughters when she says they spotted a Sasquatch staring menacingly at them through a split tree. She called California's Department of Fish and Wildlife and was told she had probably seen a bear. She got furious, Matt. She filed a lawsuit demanding that the state recognize Sasquatch as a distinct species, an essential first step, she says, to protect the public from potentially dangerous Bigfoots. If I can save one life, Ackley said, it will be worth it.
You know what? Sasquatch may exist, but that lady's like...
Maybe she's Sasquatch. She's upset that no one's recognizing her as being a Bigfoot.
She's urinating up a hemp strand.
Whoa. Well, now the hemp is legal nationwide. Maybe she was urinating up a hemp strand.
I mean, it's like...
I don't know what that means.
They weren't there to see it. They give her a could have been this answer, and so she's suing.
Yeah.
Get out of here,
it's
lady.
Probably a bear.
Even if it's a Sasquatch, so what? They weren't there to see, so they're just speculating. You can't
Everybody
sue somebody
speculates
for speculating.
on Sasquatch.
Good Lord. Hey, here's something I was really pleased to see.
Okay, let's
Bump stocks are now illegal.
Yay.
These are the device where you can take a semi-automatic rifle, hook it to, change out the stock, and, the recoil from a shot causes it to keep bumping back and forth.
So it works guns when you don't own a gun.
It works like a
machine gun,
right? And machine guns are illegal.
Yeah.
And so,
but bump stocks were not,
and they were not.
Mm-hmm.
And so now the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives has reclassified them as a machine gun.
ATFE, I guess.
BATFE. F-E, yeah, bat fee.
Bat fee.
And so now it's illegal to make them, own them, or sell them.
Good.
And people must, according to this ruling, destroy or turn them in by March 21st of next year.
And I'm sure there's going to be people are going to be going door to door to say, let me see your bump stocks, please.
Hand in your bump stock. Well, guess what?
What, Matt? Don't tell me I don't want to hear this.
Well, the ruling lacks any enforcement provision for one.
Matt.
There's never been a record kept of who owns or makes or sells them.
Don't want to hear that.
And it's likely to be challenged.
Of course.
So what's needed here is Congress to pass a clear law saying these are machine guns and we must get rid of them. But at least, and even
there's
Trump,
a tiny step in the right
this
direction.
came out of the Parkland shooting in Florida. And so it is one small move forward in the
tiny step. And is Trump expected to sign this, or did he already?
He supports the rule change.
Wow.
So.
Must be a moment of unlucidity for him. Jeez. Well, I still think that the best thing to do is increase the price of bullets to like $1,000 per bullet. Let people have as many guns as they want. They just can't have ammo.
And make them be stamped with individual serial numbers.
That would be fabulous. Right. Yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you remember we reported on that giant U-shaped boom that the young man was going to put out in the Pacific Ocean to
capture the
scoop
plastic.
up the plastic in the Pacific Gyre. So far, it's failed to have any success, and I was sorry to read that. But he is saying that, hey, that's our first try. We're going to tweak it.
I like that.
Apparently, part of the problem was that the boom was moving slower than the plastic in the currents.
So, okay, well, we got to fix that.
Wait for me.
Okay, let me catch you.
Yeah, come back here.
Hold on.
So I hope he can, find a way to.
I hope so too,
because that's a big problem.
And speaking of big booms, Matt, a 26-foot tall statue of Marilyn Monroe is causing outrage in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh, really?
Because the starlet's rump points directly at a nearby church.
Oh, I read about that.
The statue is part of a summer art display. It depicts a famous movie scene in which Monroe's white dress is lifted by a blast of air. It's disrespectful, says Pam Riley, a member of the First Congregational Church. Everyone under there is looking up her skirt. I say, don't look. Just turn away.
Would Jesus look?
What would Jesus look at?
What would W?
Well, when I lived in Washington, D.C., there are a
Monroe.
lot of statues of men on horseback. And the horses are male horses, and they're not, they're still intact. And people would go by and spray paint those intact parts with bright green spray paint.
Green. Shouldn't it be pink or red?
Some were pink and red. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good. Hey, I was pleased to read this, Jim.
What's that?
You remember the Blackwater slaughter in Nisur Square in Baghdad in 2007?
Not a fond memory.
Where those mercenaries just unprovoked launched an attack on all the citizens.
It's like My Lai.
They killed 17 people, right?
Jeez.
It was just, these trigger happy, probably
and
coked
they got
up.
away with it, right?
Well, they actually, the government said, trust our judicial system to hold people accountable.
Set them up and knock them down.
A bunch of them were originally convicted of murder.
Good.
Then they were overturned.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. But one of them, a sniper for Blackwater, was reconvicted of first-degree murder.
Good.
So,
excellent. Good. And that is Betsy DeVos's brother, who ran Blackwater and has now been
formed Blackwater.
Right, who formed it, and now it's been morphed into something else. What did you say?
XE, and then it changed to something. Some other.
So anyway, it's still around, but it's in a different form.
Yeah, and he's the guy that's saying, "No, we should just privatize all wars. Let me take care of it."
Wow.
So anyway, there's a little bit of justice for one guy.
Yeah, that's good. That's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the Christmas spirit.
Yeah.
Get those murderers off the street.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
So what do you got?
You got something. You like pizza, Matt?
I do.
I do too. Do you eat it much?
Not that much. It clogs up my sinuses.
It does? Well, you're supposed to chew it, not stick it up your nose.
Really?
Yeah.
No, well, see, I saw you with those candy canes hanging off your lip, and I was inspired.
When we get pizza, we often have it without cheese. Maybe that has something to do with it.
It's the cheese. It's the dairy.
There we go. Yeah. You can get like rennetless cheese or something like that. Anyway, there's a 41-year-old New Jersey man. He's eaten pizza for dinner every day for the past 37 years, Matt. His teacher, he is a teacher, his name's Mike Roman, had his first taste of pizza as a toddler and instantly became smitten, refusing anything else his mom put on the table.
Oh, my God.
Since then, he hasn't gone a day without pizza, even having it served at his wedding reception. Roman doesn't think he'll ever tire of the taste of dough, cheese, and tomato sauce. Every day, he said, I'm just as fascinated as the day before.
Is he fat?
It doesn't say that, and it doesn't say what his wife thinks about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, well, here's a
spouse.
A couple of items, Jim. So, State Senator Bill Dodd, who was a Republican, became a Democrat.
Yes, the Dino, Democrat in name only.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. He's the guy that last year was the main driver writing the legislation that helped get PG&E off the hook for liability when they caused massive fires.
Thank you, Dodd.
And the bill wasn't entirely bad. It said there would be a stress test. They would have to pay whatever they could afford. But if if the damages were more, then it gets it gets financed, PG&E. and the ratepayers have to pay it.
Of course,
off,
we'd have.
Right?
We all have to pay it.
Well, he's now flipping on PG&E because he's saying that they need to change their board members and their executives because he's responding to the Public Utilities Commissions who are saying PG&E has lied about their and forged their safety records on their underground gas lines for years after the Burlingame explosion.
Wow.
So
wow.
He's saying, okay, time for leadership change. And he's right there.
He is right, but not until public pressure or some sort of scrutiny. You've got to keep an eye on this guy. I write to him and tell him, I call him a dino.
Yeah, Bill, hang on there. You need to do a better job.
You do need to do a
better job. And then here's, I was also happy to read that the Sonoma County Airport is adding 15 new electric vehicle charging stations at the airport.
Right now, I just need to get an electric car.
You do, and hurry up, man.
I'm hurrying.
Yeah. They're saying that the electric car sales in California, California has more than 50% of the EVs in the country.
50, wow.
And the sales are going along good enough that they think that's going to beat the 1.5 million that Jerry Brown wants to see sold by, 2020?
Now they just have to keep the incentive, the tax incentive of $7,500, right?
Yeah.
Credit.
But this will allow people to park their electric vehicle at the airport if they're gone for a week or two and the battery runs down. They can just charge it up there so they don't have to worry about that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Matt, it's really good to hold hands with people. It's reduced physical pain. Believe it or not, they did a study that women reported that holding hands reduced the intensity of their pain by an average of 34%.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the University of Colorado at Boulder. They study, a small study, 22 women, but holding hands helps.
Oh.
Really nice.
All right,
hold hands
folks.
This season.
All right, you Mook fans, let's all hold hands
and sing Kumbaya.
Yeah. And then we're getting close to the top of the hour, Jim, but I did want to mention Alexa.
Oh my gosh, the personal assistant.
Yes,
the electronic personal assistant
that just sent 1,700 recordings of home conversations.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
Of one Alexa customer to another Alexa customer that didn't know this person. This was in Germany.
Oh my God.
And the guy...
Ach, der Lieber.
Yeah, the guy thought he'd look back at his recordings, that Alexa had recorded over time, and suddenly there were all these from somebody else, 1,700 of them. So he, of course, downloaded them to his computer and went, "What is this?" And of course, Amazon is like, "Oh no, we fixed that.
Yeah, we fixed it.
We're sorry.
Yeah. So
it won't happen again." But it already happened before.
It has. Ich gehe unter den Tisch, Matt.
Is that right?
That means I am going under the table in German.
Amazon better go under the table and hide their face. Shame on you, Amazon.
So Matt, next week,
yeah,
I won't
you're
be here.
on assignment.
I'm on assignment.
You're going to go to the hinterlands.
I'm going to go to Red State,
Missouri.
to the Midwest, where it's got a lot of snow and cold and stuff.
I hope it's not too miserable.
Oh no, in-laws are wonderful, wonderful people. So that'll be good.
Yeah,
we'll all hold hands and eat turmeric.
And while you are on assignment, I will be hosting the 3 new school board
lucky
members who just won in the midterm elections.
Big upset.
So
all
that's
women.
Going to be interesting.
Wonderful.
Yeah, all women, all sharp, and all have talent to bring to the table.
And hopefully not sharp elbows because it's narrow in here.
Yeah.
I will see if I can tune in.
Exactly.
You too, listeners, and have a great holiday. I'll see you in the new year.
Yeah. So when you come back next week, folks, it'll be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And then
it'll be after
in
Christmas.
the new year, Jim he'll report back to us. So
I will. Yes, I will.
Happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everybody, and we'll
happy holidays.
Tune in next week. 2 Mooks and a Mike. We love you.
The sleigh bells keep ringing.